everybody, and welcome back to another exciting day of 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got someone. I don't think you've been on 31 Days of Indie Horror yet.
I don't think so. It's my first. You've popped my virgin cherry.
I know, but I think we've been doing that a lot lately, like putting you in different things. Like I think you were in.
Don't tell my husband.
Well, no, I think you were. Yeah, you've been on. Was it Indie Film Cafe? Now you've been on all the shows that we do. Hard Blood and Coffee. That's our main show, but we haven't had you on any of the other shows for some reason or another. I think you're just too busy generally, and it's just harder to ask you. But and like this one, we were trying to do this a bunch of times, and it just didn't work out a couple times, but we finally did, and I'm really excited to talk about Toe,
Yeah.
which I was actually pleasantly surprised. I mean, I wasn't pleasantly surprised. I was really hoping it was going to be good anyway,
Mhm.
because the Ninth House is the company that did it, and they're the company that I worked with on Lifetime movies. They
Like
did
all
a
the
bunch.
Christmassy movies.
The Christmas movie I did. They didn't. I was in like one of everything. They did they did one movie that was originally called Breast Cancer Bucket List, and I was in that and like the background and stuff. And actually, in three or four scenes actually. That was a pretty good amount of that one. And then what is it? They did a couple other different ones, and I've just been in all of those. So that was a lot of fun back when I was in LA. I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I miss being able to go out and do Lifetime movies. I mean, literally, you're just there sitting around, But this was their. I don't know if this is their first foray into horror or not, but I know like they've been talking about how they're branching out into horror and they're doing a lot of stuff. And this was, I think, the movie that really kind of helped make sure that they were good at that. So this
You
was,
think, huh?
you think, I
You
don't
mean
know. I
this
don't know
was
what
the
your
movie?
opinions are. It stars Kane Hodder, which I mean, he pretty much loves to do these, anything where he's the killer,
Yeah.
kind of thing. What was your initial thought of this film?
I thought they did Kane Hodder dirty in this film. I mean,
For real?
honestly, the only good thing about this movie was Kane Hodder was in it, I thought, and that it ended. But I feel like they didn't really give him because Kane Hodder is an actual like decent actor, and I feel like they didn't really give him anything. I didn't like this movie. I didn't
What
like it.
what was your major concern with it?
Well, I just thought it was a lot of fluff. It was like painfully generic, and half of the movie was a dream sequence, and then it ended, and that was when I was like, "Yay!"
I kind of like the dream sequence stuff though.
I felt like it was honestly because they didn't know what else to do. They ran out of stuff. Because I mean, the dream like I like a good dream sequence, but sequences are supposed to be like 45 minutes of the movie. And
Well,
then how they did it, it was so like disjointed and like I don't know. If you had any kind of like sensory issues, like I don't think you could watch this movie.
so when I was watching it, my first thought was, "Oh, good. Kane Hodder's playing Freddy Krueger."
Hmm.
In a way, because he's kind of basically trying to kill them in the dream world, or whatever. It was a little confusing. I'm not gonna lie. There was moments where because they're both played by the same actress, and it's they're twins, the two main characters. And the problem with that I always have with a same actress, and even twins period, Ashley and Mary Kate Olsen, I can't ever tell the difference between them two on on Full House. I'm not like, oh, that's Ashley, that's Mary Kate. I don't know. To me, that's Michelle. you know I mean, I know they do it kind of specifically for that reason. They don't want you to know, but in
I
this
mean, in this one
movie,
they had different hair colors, so that was supposed to
sort
like
of, they still look similar to each other enough where I'm like,
I didn't know they look exactly the same. They just literally had one was blonder and one was brunetter. Like that was literally the only difference.
yeah. And so and I couldn't even remember which one was which,
Yeah, me
half the
neither.
time.
And then half the time the dream sequences were so long, I forgot that I was even watching a dream sequence. Like that's when you know it's too long. I mean,
Right.
I don't think any dream sequence is supposed to be like half the movie.
Well, half the
Essentially.
movie was the dream sequence, and I think a lot of that was the idea that I guess he said, he would see you in his dreams, which I think is an awesome line to say before you die, you know, and everything. Like, I'll see you in your dreams. Kind of freak out, freak people out. Like, I get that. But when he's sort of saying that to the girls, and he means it because he's doing all the sigils and the symbols and stuff on top of his
He's full. He's a full. It's not
yeah.
like it's yeah, it's demonic.
Also, I wish we had a little bit more backstory on him.
Yeah, that's
Because
what I mean. Like they didn't give him a lot to work with. I mean, he for what he had given, I think he did good. But I mean, there just wasn't a lot going on.
yeah, and you really hardly ever saw his face.
Yeah,
Which, if you know Kane Hodder, well, he loves showing his face more now because he doesn't like to be the guy behind the mask. You got
uh,
to see his face occasionally, but really, I mean, I hate to say it, Kane Hodder is a scary looking dude.
yeah.
I've met him numerous times. He's really fun to hang out with and stuff, and if you take a picture with him, he'll choke you sometimes. Sometimes he's very careful with that because he's gotten in trouble. It's actually choked somebody out once, I think, and to where they kind of passed out, or whatever, which was not good. But aside from that,
Some people are into that.
some people are. And so this movie kind of gets a little bit too confusing at times and a little bit too weird. I guess the plot and the plot is a little contrived in my opinion
Yeah,
because like, okay, first of all, if your parents were murdered, or whatever by a crazy tow driver, um I wouldn't assume I would want to stay in that town. I'd want to move or do something, or whatever. And on top of that, I thought he did move, or he got arrested. I thought he got arrested after the girls, right? So he's been arrested for 20 years.
yeah. And then he was
Um,
gonna be killed.
right. So I don't understand the scene, and I guess this was the dream sequence, but with her and those guys, those random biker guys or whatever, and she's in the car and everything. Like I didn't get any of that, and like I think they were trying to explain it, but it got
Yeah,
really
that's what I mean. It was
lost.
very disjointed, and I feel like they kept going back and forth a lot too, and it was hard to follow. And the director, this is like her only credit, so I mean, a lot of it could just be like, like first
First
time
time for
director.
filmmaker, and you know what? For a first time filmmaker, this isn't bad.
Yeah,
Like this isn't. She didn't make a movie that is just boring or anything. Like it wasn't boring to me. It might be boring to you. I don't know, but I was intrigued. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I
I
wanted.
wasn't bored. I was angry. I kept thinking like, what the fudge? Like what is I don't know. I just the whole going back and forth and then the dream sequence, it was just really disjointed. It was hard for it like a lot of it, there was so many plot holes. It
Mhm.
just a lot of it didn't make sense. And see, that throws me out of a movie because then I'm trying to figure out like what the hell I'm watching. And then I'm just like and then they kind of did him dirty, like I said. Like the character development wasn't really that great either. So and there wasn't a lot of pluses for me watching this movie.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Which kind of sucks because I kind of. I mean, I don't know. Like, would I watch this again? Maybe if somebody wanted to watch it with me, this isn't something I would seek out to just watch on my own. I've been realizing that there's a lot of movies like that like I'm like, oh, if somebody else is like, hey, I'll watch this with you, I'll watch it. But like, would I snuggle up and watch this on my own? Probably not because I think like you, I would get frustrated again. Like, who are all these people necessarily? Like, who's the psychiatrist guy? There's not enough information about him, really. He's just, and like, he seems very, very too involved and everything. And like, who has the same psychiatrist as their twin sister? Like, I think that seems like a bad idea, that you might want to get two separate psychiatrists, or something,
Yeah, I
not
mean
this.
that's I just kind of chum that up too, bad storytelling or like easy plot. Like they wanted like an easy story, and like it's a generic story. You can see the ending coming a mile away, and then just
Could you, could
lazy
you, though, could
writing.
you see that it was that the girl was like the one doing it or
Yes, I mean
whatever?
you could definitely tell. I knew from the get go that they were going to be possessed,
Okay. But they're
and
possessed in the dream.
especially with all the occult stuff. And I was just like, oh god, like I know what's going to happen. And then like the whole middle was just fluff and in the dream sequence. It's almost like they knew what they wanted to do, but they didn't know how to execute it because
Right.
the dream sequence was not right. Like that, you can tell me that that's what they meant to do. It was
Yeah.
bad.
It was. I
It
did
hurt
like,
my eyes. It gave me a headache almost.
I'm not gonna lie, I did like the special effects though. The effects and the kills were pretty cool,
The only
you
thing
know.
I can say that I liked about it, I liked the music. I thought the music was very fitting because a lot of times, like when I watch indie films, like, music and sound and stuff is always like an issue.
Yeah.
But I thought the music was done nicely. I thought the cinematography was done nicely.
The
And like the
sound, you could
light,
hear everything that
yeah,
somebody says. There wasn't any.
yeah. So the lighting, sound, and like I said, with most indie films, like those are never like the best quality sound.
Mm.
But I mean, I thought all that was really good. That's like the only, and that, and other than it was like 100 or an hour and 26 minutes. And like when it ended, I was like, woohoo. So that was my only, you know what it was like? It was like My Soul to Take. Remember My Soul to Take?
Yeah, the Wes Craven movie.
It was like that movie, but like worse, like way more like low budget.
I can get that. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what they were sort of thinking when they were making it. They wanted to do another My Soul to Take.
Yeah.
And even My Soul to Take wasn't fun.
No, I did not like that one at all either.
Yeah, I like it's probably one of my least favorite Wes Craven movies, but and so I guess that's the wrong movie to sort of take from, I guess. Or I mean, I guess if you want to make it better, like, hey, I want to make My Soul to Take and make it better, but then you got to make it better, you know, like you can't
Yeah.
do something worse than it. Um, all in all, though, I mean, like I said, I kind of enjoyed watching it. It wasn't too bad. Once again, there were a lot of other issues that I just didn't like. I didn't understand why she was at that one area. I guess like she was meeting her sister. She was hopefully meeting her sister at that one area, and she was going to leave the flowers, I guess, where their parents died.
Well, they were gonna
Um,
meet up to like move past it.
well, I mean, it's weird to like move past it on the day that the guy's about to be electrocuted.
I know,
Like
right?
that seems like you should have moved past it,
I know.
15 years
It's
ago.
it's just literally I think boils down to lazy storytelling. Like they just didn't know how to connect it all, so they just went with that.
Yeah. And then I guess they pull people into their dream too. Like that one doctor randomly is pulled into the dream, and the which once again, that's the biggest problem is half the movie is a dream. So like when some of these dream stuff happens, you can't tell it's a dream and you don't know what's real, what's not, which sometimes is okay in the hands of somebody who's really good at psychological thrillers or
Right.
something. But when it's your first directorial debut, this is probably not the movie that you want to it's almost like advanced horror thing, you know what I mean? You want to sort of do something a little bit more, but I will give it credit. It was co-written by the main girl, so like they have a lot of women behind the scenes doing this, which is great because we want more women in horror getting these kind of gigs. Problem is when women in horror get these kind of gigs and then they kind of screw it up, then people are like, well, that's terrible, like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want.
I mean, that's not gender because if we're gonna stay up gender, there's way more like men directors that fuck movies up,
Yeah,
but
that's
only
true.
because there's more men directors though. So, I mean, I don't think yeah, I'm with you. Like, I'm all for like female empowerment, but like, I mean, also just because you're a female doesn't mean like you get a pass on making a shitty movie. So,
Right. Not at
yeah,
all.
right.
Especially if you want to sort of be like, considered the like equal period, or whatever. You don't get a pass on
Yeah.
this if
And this was
it's
like her only credit, like literally only credit, like nothing else, like
she
no
didn't
shorts, no
well, I
nothing.
wonder, and you know what? I don't want her to like ever stop. Like if she wants to continue doing, she may not have had a great time making this movie, and that's why a lot of it
Well,
is
nobody, I feel like your first movie never, no, you just never have a good time making your first movie because that's when
well,
you're like really recognizing, like, oh, it's a lot harder than it looks, and then you run into all those issues and scheduling and casting. I mean, you know how it is. Like, it's
right.
not fun to make movies during the process of making the movie.
Right. I mean, was it finding funding, doing all that stuff is never fun. And
Yeah,
then,
because as indie low budget filmmakers, like, you're doing like 20 different things. So
yeah,
it's not fun because you can't really, if you're a director, you're not really focusing on just directing. You're like, like with me with my girlfriend, it's like I'm directing, I'm doing special effects, it's like you're doing
you wear a
everything.
lot of hats.
Yeah.
Um, so I was kind of surprised. I mean, I don't know if Tubi bought this from them and called it a Tubi original, or if Tubi actually funded the film
Yeah, I
at
don't know.
all. Um,
I titled this on my sheet, "To be OG fail."
hmm. Well, what I will say, I think they probably acquired it. And then just because it was just coming out to Tubi, it wasn't coming out to like all the other like Netflix or any other streaming service, that they were calling it Netflix or Tubi original. But I don't think Tubi had much of a say, because I only say that because there's another film that's coming out. Like, oh, well, there's one that just came out called Shark Side of the Moon, and that was done by the Asylum, and that's an a Tubi original. I'm pretty sure Tubi didn't go, okay, I'm going to give you money, Asylum. I bet Asylum said, here, I've got a movie, and they said, great, we're going to make it a Tubi original because it's to get it more attention, you
Right.
know,
Well,
and
and
that's the
Tubi originals have some hit or misses. Like, I mean, I've seen like a few decent ones, but I think I've seen more like crap ones than decent ones.
well, if you think about it, like Tubi is the premier place for like horror indie horror stuff, and I love Tubi. And they're actually very hands-on. They help people out. They're very, if you have a problem, they'll, you know what I mean? They'll
Mhm.
stay in contact with you. So great people. I love them to death. Um, but that being said, yeah, if you make a movie like this, you need it to be a little bit more non-confusing. This movie has to have a character, but my favorite scene in the whole thing is the scene with the bikers. Like that scene was so much fun, and I was like, if the whole movie could have been more like that, where it was not the dream stuff and it was just a tow truck driver attacking people and stuff, I think I would have enjoyed it more,
Yeah, I
Bec-
think so too.
because the idea being that tow truck drivers are people that we meet on a every now and then, whatever, when our car breaks down, and usually our car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, where we can't get help and stuff, so we call the tow truck driver, and then they come. What if the tow truck driver was a serial killer, right, or something? And you know what I mean, you'd have to work out the details on that, but I mean, there's ways around it where nobody would know, you know but but with that being said, this movie tried to do too much. I feel like maybe that was the problem. Is they tried to make it less generic and made it more, I guess, harder to do. You
Which
know,
is such an oxymoron to me because I get what you're saying, but it's like they made it harder but somehow they still managed to put like 50% fluff in this movie. Like that's a feat. Like I don't even know how they accomplished that.
Once again, I think also you have to like understand like the Ninth House is very used to TV, and this does feel sort of like a TV movie, where there is a lot of fluff, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of, people yelling at each other or whatever, bickering and other things that kind of become part of what Lifetime would do, you know? So maybe this is like a Lifetime horror film, in
I
a
don't
way.
know. I've seen Lifetime. I like Lifetime. This
Yeah.
was not Lifetime to me
This
though.
was not Lifetime to you.
No. Give me a good Lifetime movie, but this maybe like a couple more movies under her belt, a little bit more, maybe even her next one. Who knows? Like maybe it could get there. I
Yeah.
mean, there's potential. I mean, there's potential in everybody. So this one just it didn't do it for me.
Didn't do anything for you?
No.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I don't think sadly, I don't think they'll make a toe two, which sounds kind of weird to say toe two.
God, let's hope not.
I mean, not, look,
Or
hey,
wait, it'll be called Toes.
toes. Oh man. Yeah, that's funny.
You know what's funny is we were watching speaking of this, well it's not even it's kind of similar. We were watching the second Lost World because we've been rewatching Lost World.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, I didn't realize at the time, but when I was watching it, one of the voices, I was like, I know that voice, like one of the actors. And I was like, that's Candy Cane from Joyride. And like Derek was like, no, it's not. And I was like, I know Candy Cane anywhere, you know? He's like Candy Cane, like that guy. And so it was that guy from the guy who's the voice of Candy Cane. So he's in
Nice.
the second one. What is
It,
that?
it
The Fallen Kingdom?
it's always nice when you see like the horror guys out there doing like normal shit, that's not horror.
Yeah, because
Um,
he's a very distinct voice. So I was like, the second I paid attention to it, I was like, I know that voice anywhere.
Speaking of voice, I really didn't like what they did with Kane Hodder's chant thing,
Oh God, I know.
That thing drove me nuts because it didn't sound anything like what I would imagine that character to sound like.
Yeah.
And so, but it was literally some other kind of chant thing, and so I was just like, man, they could have just had Kane Hodder chant something, or whatever. And he's got a scary sounding voice. If you've ever like listened to him just talk, I
No.
mean, so I would have loved that. But I think they tried to do it to make it sound scarier, and it didn't sound anything like Candyman or, anything scary. It was just sort of, I don't know. I think what I said, like, I mean, would I watch this again? Probably if somebody wanted to check it out, but I would warn them it's not uh it's not the most thrilling, and it will confuse you a lot, but
No.
I'll watch it because I want to see people get like I
This
want to
is
see the
definitely like a make out movie. Like you put it on the background, you make out with somebody, and then you're good to go.
well, thank you for the suggestion. I
You're
will
welcome.
I will keep that in mind.
Now
Uh
everybody will know your secrets. You'll be like,
I
hey, you want to
know.
watch Toe? Oh, wow.
I can I can imagine now. Like I'll be like, "Do you want to watch Toe?" And then somebody will be like, "I saw your 31 Days of Indie Horror Toe episode.
Yeah, that
Sorry,
that
I'm leaving."
that
Like,
second
damn
person that
it,
watches.
outed me again. I don't know. I don't. When you write horror, it's kind of harder to like when you review horror too. Like because when you're watching this stuff, you're like, I would have wrote this differently.
I
Like
know it is. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard watching movies when you know too much.
I know, because then you're just like, oh God, why did they do that? Like they just easily could have done this.
I mean, I remember like young, naive Sam, like when I was little watching movies, and I actually thought that like I didn't know there were sets. Like I thought they literally like made these movies like in like actual places, like
Well, some
and
some
like
do, some do. I
and I
mean,
didn't realize like ADR was a thing. I thought like everybody was like actually speaking, and then when I learned, my mind was like,
You want to
What?
you want to hear
He
something
ruined
crazy?
it.
When I was a kid, I literally thought like I was basically watching real life.
Mhm.
Shit.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters was real, man. I
Yeah.
swear.
No, I know. It's funny. And then when you get older, it's like you find out, Santa Claus isn't real. It's like, aw.
Why'd you gotta tell everybody that,
I
man?
mean,
Some people, you
Derek
know.
just started to be like when I first met Derek, he couldn't even watch movies because like he just like was picking apart every little thing. Like he can
Mm,
finally start now watching it because it was also annoying like watching movies with him.
hmm
And I'm like, no, I'm like, just shut up. Like this.
Oh God, I forgot. Paul does that sometimes when we do the things. He'll be like, "No cop would do that." Blah 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 blah, and I'm like, "It's a movie. Relax." But when you review a movie, you have to point that stuff out too. Like, no cop would ever do that. Like the detective in here did not seem like it seemed like every kind of detective you see in every other movie. Where he's like arguing and yelling at the person, like, "Oh, okay, all right." I'm like, oh no, no cop would act like that. Like I feel like the cops in horror films, they have to pretend to be like the bad guys kind of thing because they have to have like that good cop, bad cop kind of thing. And if they don't have the good cop, they have to have the bad cop because they have to have the cop be suspicious. But I'm she didn't murder anybody. Why? Well, I guess the bikers, or whatever. Was that real? Was that not real? I don't understand anything of what was going on, and apparently she was arrested for that.
Because
Like
I
I'm
mean, I
like,
thought she did kill. Didn't because she was possessed, right? And like she did kill people, didn't she? I
okay,
mean, that's how I
okay, that
took it.
maybe make a little bit more sense and stuff like that. She was possessed, actually killing the bikers, but you never see anything like that. What they need to do is to like not confuse the audience and have little flashes of the person because I understand it's the twist at the end. She's, right. It's supposed to be the twist at the end, but if you watch the whole movie, you're confused as fuck. It doesn't
Right.
matter about a twist at the end, right? So the twist at the end, she was possessed, but she was possessed in the dream. What was she? And she was
Yeah.
sitting there going like, and all of a sudden, like, foam was coming out of her mouth in the thing, and I'm like, wait, How is she dying? Like, how is this any of this happening? I'm
I
so
know.
confused.
I was me like almost through the whole movie. Why is this happening?
Why is this happening? Why?
Why did Jonathan Moody make me watch this?
Well, no, I don't like pre-know anything about these movies ahead of time, so I don't look at trailers. I just see
Yeah,
Toe on Tubi, and then I saw Tubi original, and I said, all right. And so I said, Sam will watch this.
I
And
did, and I was
and she
thinking,
did,
I was
which
even thinking this is worse than Secret Sex Slip.
I don't even remember what that was.
Yeah, I know it was some movie you wanted to do, but we couldn't do it because you knew like the person who made it
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. I
You wouldn't let
forgot. I
me talk
forgot
shit.
that's what you called the guy. Yeah.
You wouldn't let me talk shit about it.
Well, I think nowadays, not probably with the filmmakers on there, because like I feel like they would have to feel like they have to defend it, or whatever. Which I don't know, might be a good thing, if they're like, oh, this is, you're wrong about this, or whatever. Then
I
we
mean,
can
it
be
just
like,
depends
oh,
on if people can take criticism. Because I mean, I've worked with some people that like can't take any sort of criticism. So
are you talking about in the film industry?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, there's definitely people who can't. There's people that will literally try to get the YouTube video taken off if you review their films or whatever. And I'm just like why? Like that's instant publicity. Even if you say the movie sucks, people want to see a movie that sucks.
honestly, there's like Hollywood movies that are big blockbusters that like people don't like. I mean, just because it's indie doesn't mean that if you say it sucks, you're not wrong. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And when I say a movie sucks, I mean I think my own first movie sucked. So
Right.
I mean, it's nothing personal. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people's first movie sucks.
Right. You have to like keep working at it and keep doing what you're doing. So, I mean, I think people definitely need to understand, like, especially for her first film, she made a fucking feature film, congratulations, like that.
That's
And it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You
Yeah,
know,
and it
like
was done.
yeah, it was done. It was, I mean, it might be a little confusing, but like that's, once again, a lot of that has to do with them trying to get a twist at the
Well,
end.
and also a lot of it's just with indie land too, just being so low budget. I mean, a lot of indie, personally, my opinion is I think a lot of indie films are boring and whatever. But I mean, it's also because of the lack of funds. I mean, if we all had like, $50,000 to put into our indie film, I mean, they would all be better. No matter who you are, they would be better.
I don't know how much they had for this. They probably had to have a little bit more than
Yeah,
that,
well, I'm
but
just saying. I mean, most people like in our range. I mean, 50,000 is a lot to shoot their film.
yeah,
I mean,
like some people are like, I could make 20 films on 50 grand. And I'm like, why don't you make one movie on 50 grand and, and make it as good as possible?
right, just
Um,
release.
but
But also,
yeah,
I mean, My Girlfriend is a Serial Killer, like we've been working on that for what seems like quite a while now because of, COVID and everything. But, I mean, I don't feel the need to rush it. So,
no. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't know. Once again, you don't want people confused. You don't want people to like not understand
yeah.
what's necessarily
Well, and I
going
have a
on.
vision. I have a clear vision, and I don't let other people's outside influences, like, kind of like make me do something I don't want to do. Because it's like,
Exactly.
you know I mean, it's my project, my pet. Like,
Hmm.
she's gonna be right. Like, and plus, me in general, in anything that I do, this, like, I don't do anything half-ass. Like, if I'm gonna put my name on it and like put in like the literal blood, sweat, and tears, like, it's gonna be right. Like, it's gonna be
Right.
good. It's gonna be, so.
Yep. There you go. Well, I think that's about it. I think we've covered pretty
And the
much
same thing
everything.
for you with Scream Queen. I mean, again, it's there's no time frame, like,
Right.
you want to make sure that you can put something good out because not all people care about, quantity. We care about quality.
Right. Exactly. Well, I want to say thank you so much for this. This is awesome. I really appreciate this. And everybody else, I'm glad you guys, thank you, Samantha Marie. I don't think I mentioned your name earlier, so I'm sorry. I think I just said you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait a minute. Later, I was like, wait, did I even say
Yeah,
her
people
name?
will know. They'll get
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, there should be an info at the bottom that says your name, but people might go a little crazy. And I did that once with Dale, not saying his name, and I'm like, wait, did I see Dale's name? So things like that. But I really appreciate you coming and doing this, and I appreciate everybody that's been checking out 31 Days of Indie Horror. This is our third season, so I think there's only going to be two more after this because honestly, it's a big pain in the butt, getting 31 of these done throughout the year and everything. Thank God I don't do it like I did where I was trying to do it every day of the week in October. That's just not feasible. Um, but just want to thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you guys for checking this out. Join us next tomorrow for a whole brand new episode. I don't know what it's going to be or whatnot, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So, and check it out. So thank you once again, Sam. And
Thanks for having me.
yes, it was a pleasure. So if you guys agreed, let us know. Give us a like. If you didn't agree and you thought something different and whatnot, let us know in the
And
comments.
also give us a like.
Also, give us a like anyway.
Give us a
You
like
know,
no matter what, please.
I know. I don't. I'm kind of glad with the YouTube thing that the thumbs down. Oh no, I shouldn't mention the thumbs down. People are gonna, if anyone stays to the end of this, which I don't know if they ever do,
Don't
but
worry, nobody's listening right now.
oh, do you say that? And then somebody is going to be like, I listened all the way to the end and
It'll
I'm,
just it'll just be Brandon.
no, I don't think he's checking any of our stuff
He's
out
a
anymore.
fan. I'm
Are
sure
you
he's silently stalking everybody that has jilted him.
okay? All right. Before we get
as
into any more
silently as
trouble,
like as silently as wheels can be.
all right, let's try not to get in. You keep wanting to get into more trouble. You do this at the end of every horror, blood, and coffee. So
It's my thing.
I know. All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you all for checking this
That's
out.
Brandon leaving.
And
Okay, I'm done.
okay, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Join me tomorrow for a brand new episode. Bye, everybody.